Hi, everyone. This is Renata Martinez with Think Reliability, and today I want to talk about facilitation tip number 7, and that's to focus on the cause map diagram. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but as you're working through an incident, you get your team together and you're sitting around a conference room and you start to discuss the incident. People start to immediately begin to describe the problem from their perspective or share information about the incident. And it's been my experience that a lot of times in the beginning, we're not writing anything down. As a facilitator, I've found that if I can get the team to focus on the visual tool, the cause map diagram, it helps me be able to, one, capture that information and really easily organize it. And by doing that, it also creates a shift in the dialogue or the discussions, because now people are focusing on what's going on the map. We're all focused on the same sections. We're all focused on the same information, editing those causes or that information as needed. And it really just keeps the team on track. I found that it reduces unnecessary side conversations and topics. If people start talking about something that we're not focused on the map, I make sure I write it down, understand if it fits in that section of the map. If not, I'm going to just table that conversation. It also limits the continuous rehashing of the same information. I don't know if you've ever experienced someone that really knows what the problem is and is excited to tell you about it. So by documenting that and then having that person validate that you've captured it accurately and how they intended, we can make sure it's written down, get that perspective or that cause or that information captured, and keep going. So just by the simple use of the visual tool, I found it to be an extreme time saver in my incident investigations. So to demonstrate this, let me paint a picture. So you're sitting in a meeting room and you begin to talk about an incident, and someone says we had an environmental impact when we had the reportable release. And someone offers, well, yeah, the PSV on that tank lifted. And someone mentions, well, we should never have shut down the pump. And then someone else chimes in, well, the real issue was that reverse flow event into the tank. And the dialogue continues, and someone mentions, well, wasn't there a maintenance issue with the valve? And then someone else just starts to describe the history of determining that PSV set point, and that might not be the correct set point. Well, without the use of the visual tool, all of this rich information and content is not being organized or documented. And I found that it's pretty easy to go down a rabbit hole. As a facilitator, by using the cause map diagram and having everybody focus on that, it will greatly enhance the productivity of your meetings. So immediately when someone says that there was an impact to the environment because there was a reportable release, we have that, we can capture that. And that was because the PSV on the tank lifted because the pump shut down. Now, as a facilitator, it's not immediately clear to me how the pump shutting down caused the PSV on the tank to lift, but the dialogue is still going. We're still adding information, so I'll come back and clarify that later. For now, I'm going to keep going with the discussion. So when someone says that the real issue is the reverse flow event, I will say, yes, that's one of the causes, and document the reverse event into the tank, reverse flow event into the tank. Then I have to have the team help me locate the cause, where this cause goes on the diagram. Then they explain that the reverse flow event into the tank caused the PSV to lift, and that reverse flow event into the tank was because this pump shut down. So I'm able to capture that and document that accurately. Everybody's on the same page now. Then when someone mentions, well, was there a maintenance issue with the valve? I kind of asked them, what did you mean by a maintenance issue with the valve? They said, well, I think the check valve failed. Okay, got it. Check valve failed. Now, where would that go in the map? And again, I have to have the team describe to me how the check valve failing contributed to this event. And then they say, well, when the pump shutting down, it created a pressure situation in the tank and the outlet of the tank where the outlet of the tank became the path of least resistance. So product naturally began to flow backwards. And then the check valve failing allowed the content to physically continue to move into the tank. So then I understand it requires both the pump shutting down and the check valve to fail for this reverse flow event into the tank. And this then gives some structure to the next conversation. Okay, well, why did the pump shut down? So we'll go down that path. Then we can understand why the check valve failed. And that's where that maintenance portion that was brought up in the discussion might fit. So understand why that check valve failed, and then maybe why we didn't identify that failure prior to this incident. And when someone mentions the set point on the PSV, I ask them to quantify what that set point is. They mention that it's 10 psi, and then it becomes pretty obvious that the PSV on the tank lifted because the PSV reached that set point because of the reverse flow. So that COSMAP diagram becomes a great tool to help document and organize your information, as well as drive productive conversations during your incident investigations. Again, as people bring up information, write it down. If it fits on that area of the map, continue to develop that. If you're having trouble determining where that goes, maybe just park that cause to the side, table that discussion, and you can come back to it. I hope you start to experience the benefits of using the visual nature of the COSMAP diagram, and it adds efficiency to your incident investigations. Thanks for listening. Tune in next week. You know where to find me.